Now, let me bring in our next guest on this topic. It's Greg Simmons. He is a Russian political analyst and professor of armed conflicts and journalism at Daffodil International University. He joins us live from Dhaka. Very good to have you on the program, sir. This new EU sanctions package, how much damage do you think that it'll do to the Russian economy?
I think it will probably do more damage to the European economy than to the Russian economy. The Russians are expecting this, and of course the rest of the world too, especially if we're looking at the global south. I mean, you've had comments from India and from China. They're expecting this. The EU, I think it overestimates its own importance and relevance in the world, which is in huge decline. In particular, this decline comes from such things as this form of economic warfare.
Okay, so what do you think the EU should do then, or could do, if they want to bring Russia closer to the actual negotiating table?
Well, the first thing they need to do, of course, is engage in diplomacy. They're engaging in attempted coercion, which is not very well thought out. Russia has articulated its aims and goals very concisely and consistently, but Europe is not listening. And unfortunately for Ukraine, which is the main sort of victim of this, Ukraine is taking the bigger losses and has these, I would say, rather misplaced hopes that these sanctions will work, when economic warfare generally doesn't work when you have an issue such as this one, which is a strategic issue for one side, which is actually winning the military battle.
Well, you're calling for sort of diplomatic talks. You and I both remember Macron sitting at that big table together with Putin. President Trump has been trying to pick up the phone and call Vladimir Putin to try to get him to negotiate, but still nothing seems to be working. What's it going to take, though, from an international standpoint, to get Putin to actually come to the table and agree to end the war?
Well, I think the first thing is communication needs to be understood. What is communication? Communication is not only talking, but it's listening to the other side. Currently, the US and Europe are not listening to what Russia is saying. And I mean, it's the tragic situation is that Ukraine is paying the price for this. And it seems to be Western, should we say, ego, which is the main obstructive factor in this, that they will not admit the realities of the battlefield. And
okay, well, hold on. I want to challenge you on that one, though. You're talking about the realities on the battlefield. You're saying that Europe is not listening. But where's the responsibility for Vladimir Putin to be listening to all those calls for a ceasefire?
He is listening, but the demands, which are key demands, which are made by the Russians, are not. I mean, if we remember back to April 2022, the demands were quite reasonable. That Ukrainian side actually agreed until Boris Johnson came and interrupted it. The problem is when you continue a war and eventually start to lose it, there are escalating costs for the side that is losing the war and has prolonged it. And this is what we're facing today, unfortunately.
All right, Professor Simmons, thank you so much for your time and your insights.
Thank you.